I've been in IT for 30 years. I my first job was in the Army. I was in combat in the first Desert Storm. Got out of that, got my GI Bill, got 3 computer classes, and computers have just always made a lot of sense to me. So I never ended up getting a computer degree. I got degrees in other things, but not in computers because this stuff just makes sense. So I started off maintaining code for a banking software company here in Omaha, and then moved over to what we call configuration management. And in the IT side, that's what DevOps was back in the day. Was we were doing releases. Our code was custom code, but I always started with a developer perspective, so I always was the engineer side of things. About halfway through my IT career at this company, they said, "Hey, we're standing up Salesforce. We need somebody to do this." And I was already an architect, what we call a technical architect on another product, and they said, "We're taking 5 people to build a Salesforce team, but we'd like you to be on it." I'm like, "Absolutely, yeah." And so that was how I got into it from the IT world. Just kind of fell into it, and I did purposely grind through what an admin would do in Salesforce, even though I was an architect, just to figure out the nuts and bolts of the tool. I'm a person who I dig into complexity, and I break it into smaller parts for other people to understand. So it's just a natural talent of mine, and teaching is a natural talent of mine. So those things kind of lend to my career. And so I got to, and then I felt led to move to another company, Mutual Omaha. It's actually one of our customers now, as to build a Salesforce practice there. I reached a level where I was doing that, and I think that you're really stronger in Salesforce when you come in from IT side rather than like a sales ops kind of role. So I understood what it was like to sit at a desk and work tickets. I understood what it was like to do all that kind of stuff. And that really brought the ability to lead large teams of IT people because I'd worked with all kinds of IT people and done most roles in IT myself. So when you're trying to get something through Salesforce, you got data people you got to work with, you got data, database, you got programmers you got to work with, you got just a bunch of different people to work with. So I just had a wide career of working with those people and putting teams together and getting work done. And then the Salesforce experience, got a chance to lead and build a Salesforce practice at Mutual Omaha. Then we had hired a Salesforce team of consultants to come do work for us there. And I was kind of leading all of that, their work plus our internal work to get all that stuff done. And the other guys was like, "You should go apply at Salesforce." I'm like, "Well, I never even thought about it. I mean, I don't mind going and making consultant money, but I got 6 kids and I'm, got a lot of going on in my life. And so I'm like, I don't know if I want to travel that much. Well, went out to salesforce.com, and next thing you know, I'm working at salesforce.com, and I got hired on the same team as the guy who was working at my place with the same boss and everything. It was just really kind of cool how it all worked out. I'm a faith guy, and I believe that faith played in this. And I was driving in the parking garage, and I just heard God say, "You're done here." I'm like, "Well, okay, where are we going then?" And it turns out it was Salesforce. And you may be familiar, Salesforce is all about Hawaiian themes and all that kind of stuff, and Ohana and family and all that kind of stuff. And the last thing that kind of convinced me that I was going to Salesforce was I was kind of waiting for the recruiter to get back to me. I'd been through a lot of interviews, and God's like, "We're at lunch as a family." He's like, "We got to go home. You got to go home right now." Like, okay, we don't usually leave right after dinner, but for lunch. And so I get in the car, and right the last intersection before we pulled in my neighborhood, I pulled up behind a plate with a Nebraska plate that said Ohana. I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure I'm going to Salesforce. And I got my offer the next day. I was traveling a lot, doing consulting, working on really big systems. And then my role changed. I kind of just became an expert in Sales Cloud that all the other architects in customer success relied on for information. And then I started working with product a lot and really doing a lot of security calls for product there at Salesforce. And I was kind of the guy that, like, when a product guy couldn't make it to the meeting, I was the guy who went in his place. And if it was a lower level product discussion, I handled it, and they handled the higher level product discussion. And then I got laid off with 8,500 of my best friends one day at Salesforce, and was out in the market looking for a job. Within 5 weeks, I was working for Garish here at Flosum, and I started as a product director here. So I actually built out our backup and archive product. Well, the product was built; it had great bones, but there's some things that really need to be fixed in it. So Garish had me work on that, and I built that. And then I kept saying things like, "Well, Garish, I'm helping the sales team out because they don't have a sales engineer to help with this or a sales engineer to help with that." And Garish was like, "Tell me about that." Next thing I know, I'm in sales. So now I'm in sales. So it's been a wide and varied career, and I've had to learn a lot in sales. It's different being the expert and than it is to being the sales guy. But the really cool thing and the amazing story I have, I tell all the people that story. And I've been in IT for 20 or 30 years, been in the Salesforce ecosystem as a technical data architect for 2 decades. But then I get to say, and you know what the last thing I did when I was a customer of Salesforce? As an architect, me and other architects evaluated a DevOps tool. We looked at Copado, we looked at Gearset, we looked at Flosum. I didn't know who Flosum was. I was a Copado guy. I used Copado, and we chose Flosum. And then I went away for 7 years. I came back, ended up working at Flosum. That company's still using Flosum DevOps. And in fact, in December, I saw them get 8 more licenses. I just don't know anybody else who's got a story like that. So it's just pretty fantastic. And so while I was a technical architect at ACI and Mutual of Omaha here in Omaha, it was hell. I mean, because it was my job to move all this stuff between all these environments. If I had the tools I had now, oh my gosh, it would have been so much easier. Remember when I've done it old school back when we did configuration management, there's nothing like Git or any of this stuff. It was just tools and apps, right? So I've been doing development for a long time and understand the pain of moving stuff around for a long time. So it really is a pretty good spot. I get where everybody's at from every perspective. And the cool thing about Salesforce is like I was a big fish in a small pond when I was at these companies. But when I went to Salesforce, I was a small fish in a big pond. I got to see so many different things. Like it's not like, well, this is the way we did it here and this is the way we did it here. No, help me understand really quickly how you do it. So it got me to learn to do that digging in and figuring that stuff out with people. So anyways, that's my story.